I know your love is hunting and getting outdoors.
Yeah, man, I'm just a good old boy like most of the guys I know in Tennessee that like to hunt and fish. That's me. You know, I grew up in Indiana and kind of cut my teeth on the cornfields up there trying to learn how to kill a whitetail deer, you know. And
so cool too. He took his dad to kill his first deer a couple years ago.
Yeah, so I actually had to get on the scope and get the deer in the scope because he was having a hard time with that. And he killed his first buck. So
it's neat that it's worked in reverse roles there.
It really, it's unbelievable. And now I've got a 23-year-old son that's calling me saying, "Dad, I'm on public land where you killed that one big deer, and tell me where I should go." You know, so it's from my dad to my son. It's crazy right now. So it's cool.
That's awesome.
Man, it ain't all about antlers, dude.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just the experience as a whole and passing it on to another generation.
There's stages to that, and it's you know, like you said, I want to go shoot a deer, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a brown, it's down. Well, I'm a meat hunter. Well, I'm gonna kill any legal buck. Or then you get to that place where you kill a few big deer, and I want to pass that on to my kids or share that experience with my dad or whatever. I really truly believe there's different stages that we get to.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely enjoy every one of them because they don't stay long.
Well, speaking of time in the woods, you've been big in the guiding for elk and turkey and all kinds of stuff, and you got to guide here in Tennessee here recently, right?
Yeah.
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a fun show lined up for you today. We're back at the John Sevier Hunter Education Center, and Matt Cameron is helping me co-host. He's lined up a few shows here, and happy to be here.
Always, man. I love having you come back to your roots. You bleed orange.
I do.
Big fall fan, so no better place to be than Knoxville during football season.
Definitely. On the tail end of a win. I know this show's going to air later, but they're doing all right now. I got that one loss. That's okay, but we'll keep pulling for them. Speaking of Knoxville, speaking of being up in this area, I guess speaking of Morristown, that's where the Region 4 office is.
Correct.
We appreciate our radio partners, WJDT of Morristown. They air WildCast on Saturdays at 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. And we appreciate WJDT out of Morristown for running the show. We appreciate all our radio partners and our TV partners. And if you can't find the show, you're not looking hard enough because we're everywhere. Over 30 radio stations out there on the podcasting app, YouTube, and all kinds of places. So just appreciate our listeners and our viewers. And glad to be here today. And we got Rick Taylor with us. Rick, appreciate you.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, Rick's with CVA and Bergara, and Master, you've done some work with him on some drop the tailgates, and you said we should have him on the show, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
And I've said it before, he's been a great blessing to me professionally and personally. He drove up from Cookeville all the way to White Pine, Tennessee, and he hung my cabinets in my kitchen, man.
Yes, I did. Right in the middle of nowhere.
Man, so he's a carpenter as well.
A dang good one too.
That's
he's
good.
Painting a house right now somewhere.
Yeah. I got a little construction business, kind of handyman. Keeps me busy outside of being in the woods. So you own your own business. They say you can plan your trips around your work, right? That's ideally why I got into it, anyways.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I may have to have a sidebar conversation after the
show. Teach us.
But anyway, so tell us a bit about yourself. So you got a construction business, but I know your love is hunting and getting outdoors.
Yeah, man, I'm just a good old boy like most of the guys I know in Tennessee that like to hunt and fish. That's me. You know, I grew up in Indiana and kind of cut my teeth on the cornfields up there trying to learn how to kill a whitetail deer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly small game stuff, getting started and fishing a lot. We had a neighbor had a big pond, so we'd go down there and fish a lot. Dad would take us and you know, my dad did some hunting, but some deer hunting. And growing up, I never even saw him kill a deer, so that was kind of wild that I really kind of took root with it and took off. I killed my first whitetail at 13 with a 20 gauge slug gun in the cornfield of Indiana. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool too. He took his dad to kill his first deer a couple years ago.
Yeah. So 3 years ago, we had a deer picked out that I was really trying trying hard for my dad to kill this buck, and it just him living in Indiana and coming down and spending a few days at a time. Timing didn't work out. This deer was on camera, and I've watched the deer from the stand a few times, and so one day we pulled into the farm and hadn't even gotten out of the truck, and my dad saw a buck tending a doe in a field straight back. So we were able to drive the truck around the field and come over this ridge and get set up, and I actually had to get on the scope and get the deer in the scope because he was having a hard time with that. And he killed his first buck. So
it's neat that it's worked in reverse roles there.
It really. It's unbelievable. And now I've got a 23-year-old son that's calling me saying, "Dad, I'm on public land where you killed that one big deer, and tell me where I should go." So it's from my dad to my son. It's crazy right now. So it's cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you think most folks we have on the show, that talks hunting and fishing, they grew up doing it, and their dad showed them the ropes, or their granddad showed them the ropes. But it's crazy to think that your dad hadn't killed a deer or harvested anything until.
I think he was spending time in the woods to just have some guy time,
Yeah,
he may have gone out there and slept. He worked third shift and probably just leaned up against a tree just to be there. So who knows?
Who knows how many big deer walk by?
That's right. But I've enjoyed having my time in his later years now, being retired, to spend that time with him outdoors.
And I get hung up. I've hunted my whole life and never killed a really good deer. So I want a seat at the adult table at Thanksgiving dinner, where I've kind of given me a big wall hanger, and I don't have that. So, but I get hung up on that, and I forget, man, it ain't all about antlers, dude. And it's just the experience as a whole and passing it on to another generation.
There's stages to that, and it's like you said, I want to go shoot a deer, right? Mm-hmm. If it's a brown, it's down. Well, I'm a meat hunter. Well, I'm going to kill any legal buck. Or then you get to that place where you kill a few big deer, and I want to pass it on to my kids or share that experience with my dad or whatever. I really truly believe there's different stages that we get to.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely enjoy every one of them because they don't stay long.
But y'all listen to the Bear Grease podcast?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've heard a few.
They had a show just about deer hunting, and you subscribe to it. If you don't listen to Bear Grease, Jason got me on it. It's fantastic. But they had a
wait. Subscribe to WildCast first, and then
Bear Grease here. Yeah,
shameless plug.
Sorry. But they had some deer hunters on there that have killed Boone and Crockett deer, and they had them each tell a story. None of them talked about killing a big buck deer. It was just a silly story. One guy was peeing out of his tree stand because he couldn't hold it anymore, and acorns were dropping, and these deer heard him peeing and came running over there because they thought it was acorns dropping, and he shot a little old doe with his bow. That was his story, and the guys killed a wall full of booners. So hunting is it's different for everybody, but don't feel like a failure if you don't catch the biggest bass, or it's limit out on turkeys every year. Just enjoy the experience of getting out in the woods, especially with friends and family.
That's right.
Definitely. Yeah, I've shared this before, but I passed on a deer last year hoping my son would get it. So I've come to that point where I'll let them walk if I know that they'll have a chance. Or he's looking forward to the youth hunt, and I think if it's brown, it's down. He's like, I don't care, I'll shoot a doe too. So
first one my son killed, he was 6 years old. It was a button buck, made a great shot, dropped in his tracks. It might as well have been a 12-point buck, man. It made that kid so happy, and I wouldn't have traded that for, a booner for myself.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Rick, let's jump into a little bit about CVA and what you do for them. I'd just love to hear a little bit.
So
what's your role there?
BPI Outdoors is the big name owns Bergara rifles, CVA muzzleloaders, and centerfire rifles.
Okay.
As well as Quake, which is rifle slings and some other accessories, and then Power Belt bullets, number one muzzleloading bullet in the market.
That's what I shoot. Yeah.
Yep. So I do all the social media for the brands and kind of behind the scenes. If you see something posted on the social media pages of them, usually it's me. So
I got you.
I get to go to a lot of trade shows and a lot of the outdoor shows too. So that's one of the biggest things I enjoy is talking with people and doing what we're doing here just on a outdoor scale with the public,
Yeah, that's cool. How'd you fall into that?
That's exactly what happened is I fell into it. So you guys have had Tony Smotherman. Matt's had Tony Smotherman on the show. You guys had him last year.
Yeah, he was great.
And Tony is the head of influencer relations, which just basically means he handles the print media, TV shows, writers, influencers, as there's a job as an influencer now, right? So
today,
and even in college, there's courses for that. So Tony has been with the brand probably about 6 or 7 years longer than myself. They were looking for someone. At the time that I came onto the company, Tony was putting together our pro staff, and he said, "Hey man, I want you to be my Tennessee guy." And I was like, "Cool." So started with a CVA, just doing some pro staff stuff. Basically, that means they send you a gun, you promote it on your own personal pages, right?
Yeah.
It's not a great big deal to do it, but I enjoyed doing it and did it proficiently. Got to the opportunity to also do the same thing on the Bergara side, and then got to go to a couple trade shows and some outdoor events that they did. And one day at a trade show, actually SHOT Show in Vegas, the marketing manager, he and I were just sitting at a table, kind of away from everything. It was kind of some downtime, and he said, "Well, Rick, what's your goal? What's your plan? What are you going to do?" And I didn't realize what he was asking me, but it was in relation to the company, And I told him, I said, "Well, one of these days I'm going to draw a salary from the company." He goes, "Well, you moving to Georgia?" Because we're based out of Lawrenceville, Georgia, just kind of northeast of Atlanta there. And he said, "So you're moving to Georgia?" I said, "No." Yes, I said, "I can do your social media anywhere I have Wi-Fi or phone connection."
Yeah, exactly.
And at the time, it was kind of him and another guy trying to get it done on a regular basis. And he said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yeah." And so for the following year, I did 90-something% of the posts without a salary. I proved myself.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Sure.
And so January of the following year, there was a position he created with a salary for me to do it, and
Very cool.
Been doing it since. And we've had some changes there, but I've still been part of it and still doing the trade shows and things like that. So
That's awesome.
Really enjoy it. They've been great to work with, and great people that I work with too. So I really enjoy that part of my side hustle, I guess, because my construction business is my primary deal. So.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, get to schedule my way around doing things for them as well. So.
Schedule that time in the woods.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, speaking of time in the woods, you've been big in the guiding for elk and turkey and all kinds of stuff, and you got to guide here in Tennessee here recently, right?
Yeah. So we're third day of the elk hunt right now. It's Monday of the rifle hunt, and I actually had an archery hunter reach out to me back during the archery a couple weeks ago, and he was a couple days into his hunt and kind of struggling. So I said, "Look, I don't really have the time, but I'll give you 2 days," and got out there and hunted with him all day Monday and Tuesday. And Tuesday evening, he got an opportunity, and unfortunately didn't capitalize well. It was not a great shot, but the bull will survive, and that's a good thing. He saw him the next evening and checked where that bull had been. There was not any blood, so that bull will survive. But fast forward to the rifle hunt this past weekend, I'd gone up a little early and gone up there Thursday evening, found a good bull, and he had 3 cows and a couple calves with him, and basically I just sat back and watched him for a little while and then completely backed out of there. The wind wasn't right. If I'd have sat there, they may have hit him in the nose. We wouldn't have seen him again,
Yeah.
Still had 2 days before the hunt, so Friday I put out a couple cameras and actually didn't get anything on camera. And so Saturday morning, I didn't know exactly where this bull was going to be, right? And so the way these food plots, TWA does a great job on the food plots out there. They basically skin the top of these ridge backs and build food plots on the highest point. And they're just a chain of food plots. You have to walk to connect all of them. There's 2-track road, and you got to go from a front gate to a back gate most of the time to have a couple different ways to get in there. And the wind was a little shifty, so we really had to play our way around the fields, but went in and sat up where we'd seen that bull, or where I'd seen the bull on Thursday evening, and I let out a couple bugles, a couple cow calls, and it was windy and it had rained Friday night. I actually camped right at the gate that night just to be out there, man.
Yeah.
And slept great. Rain hitting the tent, and just it was awesome. So he met me Saturday morning, and like I said, we got in there and set up where that bull had been Thursday evening, and there was just no sign of him. And it was 20-30 minutes into the hunt, and I said, we're going to start slipping around these food plots, because generally what these elk do in the evenings, they'll come into the food plots or the green areas, and they'll get their bellies full and they'll bed down there, and come morning they're going to get up, they're going to eat a little bit, they're going to hit water, and then dive off into the woods. Sun's going to hit those fields, it's going to warm up. They got a fur coat, they got to get out of that heat. So that's generally in the experiences that I've had, what they do. And so we were 2.5 miles in or so, and I finally saw a little light brown patch through the woods, and I said, dude, there's an elk right there. And it was the first elk that we saw was this bull, and just a beautiful 6x6. And so we made our way down into kind of a draw in between the two food plots, and there was a pond there, and you could tell they'd just come out of the pond. It was muddy and on the edge and everything. And we had to get away around so he could find a gap in the woods there to make the shot. And the bull never knew we were in the world. He shot, and he just anchored, dropped him right there. So
You think that rain the night before helped you sneak around?
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
It was so loud. There's so many acorns on the ground up there too. And literally, when you're walking, it sounds like you're walking on eggshells. And it was so loud all day Friday when I'd been in there all Friday morning and Friday afternoon, sneaking around. I was like, man, we gotta. And literally, at one point in the area that I wanted to take him, I cleared the ground with my foot for the last 75 yards from the woods to the edge of the field, so that I knew going in there Saturday morning we would have a 75-yard buffer of just dirt, hopefully.
Yeah.
'Cause those leaves were crunchy and the acorns everywhere. So, fortunately, the rain came in, quieted everything down.
Even better, yeah.
Yeah, we were able just to sneak right around and played the wind. That was the biggest thing, because we were talking before we got started here about thermals, and thermals are a huge deal. And I don't care if you're elk hunting or deer hunting or bear hunting, whatever it is, if they smell you, they're done, And even in elk in Tennessee, as much as they interact with people, with the razor riders and the four-wheeler riders and even other hunters, their nose still is part of what helps them survive, their biggest part of survival. And even though, 3 weeks out of the year, you get 7 archery hunters and 1 youth and 7 rifle hunters, that's the only time these elk really have a predator. And here we are, still using the wind. It's survival of the fittest.
Still got to hunt them.
That's right.
I think people think it's almost a canned hunt because it's in a zone, they're protected and all that, but you still have to put the work in.
That's right. I've guided 6 rifle hunters, and all 6 have been successful. 1 hunt may last 10 minutes. 1 hunt lasted 7 days. So it's not a gimme, but it's a matter of putting the boots on the ground, putting your time in, and woodsmanship, using the wind, using the right approach and things like that. So.
Yeah, marking, having your trail ready to sneak in.
That's right.
That's something I've never thought about.
Yeah.
I mean, just if you're scouting, which is we've talked about before the show, scouting's important.
Yeah.
Clear that trail so you can sneak in on it.
Even at home, using a backpack or a leaf blower and clearing that lane.
Yeah.
I've
Or
done
guys
that.
carrying electric blowers to stand and doing the same thing. I had a friend that took a lawnmower and mowed through the woods to get to his. So.
Yeah. There's all those little tricks,
So we talked about the elk hunts was 7, 7, and 1 this
That's
year.
right.
7 archery, 7 gun, 1 youth. Next year, it's bumping up the game a little bit.
Yeah,
so tell us about that.
I'm going to pull up the guide. It's in the guide, this year's guide, but the hunt is going to be 19 quota permits next year. So 9 archery, 9 gun, and then the young sportsman, 1 young sportsman permit. And application period is earlier. I know we talked about this before the show, but we bumped the application period up a little bit last year to help give people more time to plan, hire a guide or scout and things like that. This year it's in February 7th through the 28th of 2024. So that's the application period. And it's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. I mean, it's 19 tags this year. I mean, it's growing, but it's still going to be a needle in a haystack to get drawn.
Do you put in for the Tennessee elk hunts?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Never been drawn yourself, but you've got to take.
Yep. And even with the TWRF, the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Foundation, the 1 tag that they get to help raise funds for their organization. I don't know how many tags I bought, or raffle tickets I bought for that over the years either. So, but yeah, to be a part of it, as you said, a once in a lifetime. I killed an elk in Tennessee. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I've put in for it before, but I just forget about it too. I should be putting my name in the hat more than I am.
Especially that youth tag.
I know.
Old Tucker out there.
What have I been doing?
So, you haven't killed Tennessee elk. You've got a whole bunch of people, but you've hunted Colorado quite a bit.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your hunting out west experiences.
Oh wow! So that's usually my favorite, or my first big game hunt of every season, because elk season out there starts like the first week of September, archery. So we've been going out there. I've been to the same place for the last 4 years now, and actually been successful the last 3 years, including September this year. I took another bull with my bow.
Awesome.
So we take a group of folks out there. Some of them have been, some of them never been, and it's just been incredible. We had 6 tags in camp this year. We killed 2 cows and 1 bull. So, and last year basically the same thing. We had 6 tags and we killed 3 animals. So
that's pretty good odds.
It is.
Folks that go and don't bring anything home between a group or 2 of them, and so.
And there's different ways to do it. You can pay an outfitter big money to go out there and do it, or you can pay like we do. We pay an outfitter, but the outfitter is basically, he has leased property, and we pay a trespassing fee to go actually hunt the property. So it's private ranches that we get to hunt, and some of it has some border public, which gives us access to public land that people would have to go miles to get into. So it pushes, some of the public will push those elk deeper into public or onto private or on that edge. First bull I killed out there in 2020, I guess it was, COVID year. I killed a bull out there 3 weeks out of the hospital with COVID.
I remember that. The doctor told you, like, there's no way, no how, and you're like,
I told him the night before I got out, I said, I'm going to Colorado in 3.5 weeks or 3 weeks to elk hunt. He goes, no, you're not. And I said, sir, I'm not asking your permission. I'm telling you what I'm doing.
If I die on a mountain out there, I'm going.
I'd rather suck wind and give it up out there than I would be laying in a hospital bed.
So how many, you talked about 2.5 mile walk to get to these elk that you just guided here. Yeah. How many miles are you putting in out there typically?
Out there we were doing anywhere between 10 and 17, 18 miles a day.
Every day?
Every day.
So you got to get yourself prepared to go do this.
And you think about doing 7 miles here walking versus 7 miles at 10,000 feet where the air is so thin. It's a lot different. So this 2.5 mile hike here was a whole lot easier than Colorado. I killed my bull. He was 4.5 miles from the truck. But again, it was private land.
Yeah.
I did pull a 4-wheeler out there on a trailer and was able to drive the 4-wheeler literally right up to the bull, quarter him out and get him out. But there's guys that are more diehard than me that are going into that public land deep and packing them out piece by piece. And I know Jason Campbell here in Tennessee last year, the year before, he had to pack his bull out of Tennessee because it was deep and they couldn't get to it.
Wow.
So yeah.
Is there any conditioning you do for that? Do you prepare yourself for that?
I just stay busy.
Yeah.
I do. I'm on the go all the time. So I bought a new truck in November last year and it's got 40,000 miles on it. So I go.
Yeah. Wow. Well, one thing I want to talk about before we get too far away from it was, and you mentioned it before the show, Gary Linfoot, right?
Yes, sir.
Killed a elk last year, and you helped guide that. No cost.
So it was
donated that time.
2 years ago, I think is what it was.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yep. And so that was the raffle ticket that TWRF gets, and Gary actually didn't win that raffle ticket. It was a cool story.
Right. Yeah.
Brent Snedeker, I think is how you say his name.
Yep.
PGA golfer, golf pro. He won the tag, and when John Allred from TWRF called him, Brent's like, look, I just wanted to give money to the organization. I had no intention of winning that tag.
Right.
And Brent said, can I donate it? Is there somebody that I can donate it to? And Gary Linfoot ended up with the tag. And when I found out the story, Johnny told me the story. I was like, dude, I want to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. So I did. I got to go guide him, and it took us 5 days. He's in a track chair, which is has tank tracks on the chair.
Yeah.
Man, that thing's not fast. I can walk faster than that thing. So it was a challenge, but Gary hung in there, and man, we got it done on the 5th day. He killed a bull that he was happy with, and we were all high-fiving, and it was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know he appreciated it, and we appreciate it. Putting your time in for that and making that happen for him. That's cool.
So a donated permit by Brent, and then donated guide service here. Didn't charge the man at all, and then took 5 days to get it. So just, fantastic story. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
It's a very, very big blessing.
Mm-hmm. Very, very much so. Well, we got a few more minutes here, and I want to touch on some deer hunting. I mean, that's that time of year. We love to chase deer, and we were talking before the show again about a deer you labeled as Notch.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that story.
So Notch is a deer that I've had the opportunity to watch some deer grow in the place I get to hunt. And this deer, I know I was into my third year of watching him actually on camera and knowing it was him. But going back, I actually had 4 years of photos of this deer. So I was trying to get my dad on the deer in 2021, and timing again, he ended up killing a deer that year, but it wasn't this deer. And it was just a solid 125-inch mainframe 8, but he had some junk, little kicker off his right brow front, and then a little kicker coming off the back of his left. And I found his antler from 2020 and 2021. I found his left side shed within 50 yards of the exact same spot 2 years apart.
Wow.
Right. So I was like, cool,
he's home.
Yeah, he's home. And pretty much thought we had him figured out for my dad to take him, and timing just did not work out. And 2022 summer, that deer walked in and I got his first picture. And in my mind, I'm like, that's no way that's the same deer. And went back and looked at pictures, and it 100% was him,
And you knew this because of the notch, right?
He had a notch in his left ear. And my daughter and I, the reason we nicknamed deer, just backpedaling a little bit. So my 15-year-old daughter, she's as eaten up with being in the outdoors and hunting as much as I am. I mean, maybe even more, because I've not set foot in the bow woods this year yet. So for deer in Tennessee.
Yeah.
But so we nicknamed deer so we can kind of differentiate the ones we're talking about. Okay, we're gonna let Bruno, that's her deer. He's 7.5 years old this year, and he is an absolute giant. Probably won't share the pictures of that deer. But anyways, he's a big deer for anywhere in the country, but Tennessee, he's a giant. I'm gonna say 70s and big deer. So, but 2022 summertime, Notch walks in. I get a full velvet picture of him, kickers off back right brow and stickers off his twos and everything, just unbelievable. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, I love you, but if I get a chance, I'm gonna kill this deer. And going back to the construction thing, I took off the month of November, and I hunted hard. I did. I was in there every chance that I knew where I thought he was going to be. I was in there and never laid eyes on him. And then December, it was the Sunday before the 14th, whatever day that was. So the 14th was on a Wednesday, so it was like 11th or so. My wife and I were loading up to go to Opry Mills to do some Christmas shopping. And at 9:30, 9 o'clock that morning, he stayed in front of the camera for 45 minutes on a mineral site. Kind of little drizzling rain.
It's like he's sticking his tongue out like,
yeah.
No Christmas shopping, big boy.
So I went on and spent the day with my wife.
Good on the back right there. I thought this is what the story's going to turn like, honey. I love you, but go ahead.
You have to invest on the important things, right?
No, definitely.
Amen.
Monday, I did not hunt. Tuesday, I hunted. Didn't see him. Wednesday morning, calling for forecast pouring down rain. I had one stand that I could stay dryish in, and I killed him that morning, 30 minutes after daylight, in the pouring down rain.
Came to that stand.
It did. He sure did. I had 3 cameras that he was hitting, and that was the middle camera. For 3 days at night, he was hitting that camera, and he walked in the daylight that morning.
Perseverance pays off.
But he didn't walk by the camera. I killed him.
Got him for you.
But I did not get a picture of him. He skirted the camera that time. Goes to tell you, your camera doesn't see everything that's out there, right?
Yeah,
True.
definitely.
It had not been sitting in that stand, I wouldn't have killed the deer.
So you got to go. You ain't gonna kill them laying in the bed.
That's
right. What I tell people.
Yeah.
You're gonna strike out a lot, but you can't be afraid to fail.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And scouting's important. I mean,
Do a whole show just on scouting.
Yeah.
I was talking to him, Jimmy Kyle Clark, some of these big deer hunters. They put in a lot of time outside of the season. It's kind of like the wood is in the shed. They go get it and burn it when it's time to burn it.
There you go.
Because they know they've patterned these deer. They know how to hunt them. So put your work in.
Take a few notes and go out there this season. It's right in the middle of it right now, the 2023 season.
I'm getting the fever now.
Yeah, I know. It's getting cooler. It's time to go.
I have to stretch, get my bow back out.
Well, Rick, I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It's
Absolutely.
been great information, great talking with you. And
your handles on social media.
Yeah,
very good on social media.
Instagram, it's TNTRKYHNTR. So it's Tennessee Turkey Hunter, abbreviated, no vowels. And then on Facebook, it's just Rick Taylor.
All right.
So I'm one of the admins on the TN Deer Hunters page, so I'm not hard to find.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, go out there and find him and go after some deer and enjoy the season.
That's right.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.